Hello and welcome. This is Bree Stedman, host of Own Your BS, the podcast, where your negative head talk and the bullshit stories you tell yourself become irrelevant, and solution focus creates a path of emotional confidence, clarity, and control. Hello and welcome to episode 15 of Own Your BS, the podcast. Today, I'd like to do something a little bit different. I'd like to share with you a visualization, something to help you to really see the power that comes from letting go of the stories that distract you from the here and now. And so, if you're game, I want you to settle in and get a little bit comfortable. And when you're sitting comfortably, I'd like you to close your eyes. As you close down your eyes, you see that you float down into one room of your home that you absolutely love. It's your favourite place to go in and chill out. And I want you to notice in this special room, there's a new addition. There's a great big bookcase. I want you now to walk over to the bookcase. And as you gaze over all of the books on the shelves, you recognise that this bookcase represents the stories of your life, from birth up until now. Notice as you scan this bookcase that there are some small, thin books, there are some picture books, there are great big, thick books full of lots and lots of text, and they're all bound by different covers. Now, as you stand at the bookcase, I invite you to hold your hands out, palm up. And as you do, notice that one book flies out from the bookshelf and lands delicately on your palms. And that is the book of your birth. I want you to notice now the colour of the cover of this book of your birth. And notice as we put the book of your birth down on your palms, you start to recall some memories that loved ones have shared with you of the book of your birth. Feel the weight of this one single book as it rests on your palms. And then notice a second book comes drifting out from the shelves and rests on top. This second book is the book of your school years. The very first day that you started school, all the way up until your last day of school. Again, notice the colour of the cover. Notice how thick it is. This book potentially even starts as a picture book and ends as a textbook. And within this book, there are so many memories, some stronger and richer than others. One such story drifts out from the bookshelf and rests on top of this second book. This third book, this brand new book that's resting on top now, is maybe one significant argument that you had with a close friend during school years. Again, see the colour of this cover. Feel the weight of this story, of this argument that you shared with a school friend. Before you know it, a fourth book comes flying out from the bookshelf and lands on top. This book represents you finishing school and starting the next chapter of your life. Maybe your first job, studying, or a career. Again, notice the colour of this book. Notice how thick this book is. Above all, notice the weight that this fourth book adds to the pile of growing books in your arms. And just as this weight starts to settle, notice a fifth book flies out from your bookshelf of life. This book being the book of when you met your soul lover, your life lover. Maybe it was your first love. Maybe it was your current love. Again, as this fifth book rests on top of the pile of books, I want you to become aware of the colour of the cover and be mindful of the memories, the thoughts, and the feelings that start to get stirred up as you remember this meeting your lover. Let that sit there for a moment. And as you do, a sixth book comes out from the bookshelf and rests on top. This sixth book represents a significant life moment. One of those fork in the road events where you could have gone option A, but you went option B. And again, I want you to become aware of the colour of the cover, the feeling, the thoughts and the emotions that are stirred as this sixth book rests on top of the pile. Before long, book number 7 comes flying out from the bookshelf and rests on top. This book represents a career accomplishment that brings you absolute joy and pride when you think about it. Notice the colour of this cover and feel the additional weight as book number 7 rests on top. Here comes book number 8. This book represents a moment when your heart ached. Maybe it was the loss of a loved one, the separation of a loved one. Maybe it was just the growing of distance that happens in relationships. Again, feel what happens when this 8th book rests on top. Notice the colour of this cover. Before long, book number 9 pops itself on top. This is a miracle of life moment of your life story. Maybe it's the birth of a child. Maybe it was experiencing absolute soul love or realising a dream come true. It's a moment that takes your breath away. A moment of miracles, of gratitude, of blessings. See the colour of this 9th cover as it rests on top. Become aware of the thoughts and the feelings that are stirred as this memory of your life sits on top of this pile of ever-growing stories. And lastly, book number 10 comes out from the shelving of your book life and rests on top. This representing that one story that you can't let go of. Maybe it's happened recently. Maybe this story happened some time ago. No matter when, it's a story that you revisit frequently. You know the ins and outs. You know the feelings. You know the thoughts that come up every time this book is revisited. Feel the weight of this 10th book as it lands on top. Notice the colour of the cover of this 10th book. And hold your arms out in front of you now so that you can see all 10 covers. Notice that as you're holding these books, the weight in your arms starts to feel unbearable. Maybe your wrists are aching, your elbows are starting to bend. Feel the weight in your shoulders, in your spine. Feel the clutteredness of your mind as you see these 10 stories resting on the palms of your hands. Now, these 10 books, although representing different parts of your life, also represent your head talk. For every single time you get caught up in thinking and overthinking, in visiting and revisiting these stories, you hold on to the weight of the emotion that is stirred. And yes, there are some beautiful emotions within these stories. However, they're so muddled up with the negatives that often they are overlooked. Often the weight of the stories are connected to the moments that are less than ideal. And so, I want you to ask yourself now, are you ready to let go of the weight of these stories? As you hold on to these books, be mindful that you can't do much. You can move forward a little bit, you can move side to side, but with 10 books resting in your arms, your movements are restricted. Your choices and the opportunities available to you are restricted because your hands are full. So, when you are ready to let go of these 10 stories, I want you to take a step away from the bookcase. And on the count of 3, we're going to let them go. We're going to watch these 10 storybooks fall away. 1, 2, 3. Let the stories go. And notice as you do that instant relief that your arms feel when the weight has been released. Feel the openness and the expansiveness that occurs when you let go of the stories. And just settle into this moment where there is nothing holding you down, where your stories are resting on the ground, they're sitting up in the bookshelf, they're still accessible, but they're not bearing any weight on you. And notice the freedom that comes with this realization. As you do, I want you to float back down into your body. Give your toes a wiggle, give your hands a wiggle, and then open your eyes. And notice that you are now back listening to Bree on the podcast. What did you learn from this visualization? What have you started to recognize about the stories that you keep visiting? Are they serving you? Are you using them to step up? Or are they confining you? Are they holding you back? Are they restricting your movements because you're so busy holding on to them? If it is time for you to really let go of all of the stories that you keep holding on to, then I invite you to reach out. I invite you to take this opportunity to own the shit that's not serving you and to recreate the life that you truly deserve and desire, not just for you, but for every single person that is in your life. For every person's story impacts and features in other stories. And the more we streamline our own story, the more empowered we make our story, the greater the impact we have on the stories all around us. Thank you so much for joining me for episode 15 of Own Your BS, the podcast. I know it's been a little bit different from normal. However, I hope it's really encouraged you to see things in a different light. More importantly, I hope it's inspired you to get out of what's not serving you and to shift your focus to everything that is available to you when you let it go.